The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Coming up today on Locked On Canucks, we'll tell you why Aatu Raty is the next Sidney Crosby.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across this globe. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe and like this video on YouTube on the podcast side. Go follow us and leave a 5-star review because we ain't here without you, but we also ain't here without the sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by none other than FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Aatu Raty, maybe he's not going to become the next Sidney Crosby, but maybe he will. Who knows? But on today's episode, we got to talk a bit about Aatu Raty. A big reason why we're looking back at this Bo Horvat trade and saying, man, oh man, was this one of the best trades in Canucks history? And again, it all depends a lot on Aatu Raty. I think we know what Filip Hronek is, but Aatu Raty is a bit of an unknown commodity for your Vancouver Canucks. And he's a big part of the reason why the prospect pool is a lot better than you think and a lot better than most people think. We talked about that already. But I think there's one reason why the prospect pool is so good, and we haven't talked about it yet. And we'll get to that today. Let's get to all of it. And before we do that, let me introduce my co-host. Got 10 hours of sleep last night. My God, man. You're looking fresh, relaxed, buddy. Kyle Bowen, how are you, buddy?
10 hours of sleep. Lasted 4 minutes watching some murder mystery docu-series on Netflix, man. It felt nice. It felt nice, man. Not going to lie. I feel like a brand new man. I feel like I'm 30 and a half years old, not 31 and a half. Because there's a difference, man. Anyways, Kyle Bowen, Trevor Beggs. Talking more about this Bo Horvat trade from like 14 years ago. Man, oh man. Aatu Raty making his case in being an important part of the Vancouver Canucks moving forward. And there's not so much of an emphasis on that statement based on him needing to play this season. I'm just starting to see the tools of an actual player, a prominent player, and I'm also seeing the attitude and the charisma and the tutelage in a man who once was, highly touted, and I kind of get it. He has the tools and he's mentally sharp, and I feel as if over the last 12 months he's had somewhat of an epiphany or somewhat of a Kickstarter in this new lease of his NHL career, because for years and years and years, I'm pretty sure this guy was, the best thing in Finland, the future number one pick, the next best thing since Alexander Barkov or something, highly touted, straight up. And then maybe he took his foot off the pedal because he was young and highly touted and given everything. And man, oh man, something's happened over the last 12 months again, where this guy, his attitude is, I wouldn't say changed, but some sort of mentorship or some sort of, I don't know what the word is, but this guy just seems like he gets it. And he understands that there's a lot of work to do in the off seasons to get to where he wants to go. And I think he did a lot of that work this off season.
Well, I think the main thing about Aatu Raty is he seems to have found his love for the game again. And for those that don't know the story, there was this big expose on Raty done in The Athletic. And during his draft year, again, when he was coming in with potential number one overall pick hype, he had kind of lost his love for the game, like was just coming to the rink, was too stressed, was working too hard. And he seemed to have lost himself a little bit. And he's definitely rediscovered that by the looks of it over the last couple of years. And he may not have that number one overall pick potential or that Sidney Crosby potential, but Kyle, what we've talked about when we've watched this guy and his trajectory over the last couple of years here is that statistically, he kind of compared to a young JT Miller in terms of having that hype coming into the draft. Maybe the production going a little slower than anticipated, but still both looking like promising prospects. And I think, am I crazy to say, is that the absolute ceiling for Aatu Raty? JT Miller status. And JT Miller took a long time to hit, right? We're talking about a 21-year-old player. But I'm just saying, like, with the hockey smarts that are there, He might not have that same mean streak and nastiness of JT Miller, but this guy has the tools to become a really good NHL player. And also, is it a stretch to say that he's been the Canucks' best player in the preseason so far?
No, he's been the best player in the preseason for the Canucks. He has. That's the truth. He's shown strong traits in all areas of the ice. Again, not the perfect player, but he also hasn't been playing on the perfect teams. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, we're talking about preseason. I'm curious to see what this guy does with a full NHL lineup. And again, this new lease on loving hockey, man. And again, an understanding of what it takes to be a pro. And I'm trying to figure out what happened with this guy, whether it be, again, the mentorship that he has at home, or maybe he read the right book, or maybe, again, Talkett, Alvin, Rutherford, Jeremy Colleton back in the day, Manny Malhotra now, like, whether it be the mentors here, they've gotten to this guy, and maybe, just maybe, there's a pathway here and a good chance for him to, walk this pathway and get to his full potential. And again, back in the day, his full potential was a number 1 overall pick. And what happens, Trevor, if this dude on the Vancouver Canucks, who was also part of the Bo Horvat trade, reaches his potential? Man, oh man, this is the greatest trade in Canucks history, because it's Horvat for Filip Hronek, Quinn Hughes' right-hand man, helped him win the Norris, and Aatu Raty, a potential, I don't know, you're bringing up the name JT Miller. I just feel like I'm looking at a good two-way centerman, a good skater, a smart guy, could take faceoffs, plays with a bit of edge, a good NHLer. Like, there's a lot of things to like about Aatu Raty's game right now, and a lot of that has to do with the trajectory, man. Like, at the age of 21, for him to start getting better again, that's a promising sign. A promising sign for a guy who, again, years ago was already supposed to be like that. I think for a lot of young kids out there, highly touted young kids, once they start slipping early in their age and already experienced a trade in this thing called their life, there's no climbing back from that. And we're seeing that right now with Aatu Raty in the positive light. And it's kind of it's changing the whole outlook on this prospect pool for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, and I know we talked about JT Miller. Like, what if Aatu Raty just becomes another Bo Horvat, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're looking at a trade where you basically got a younger Bo Horvat and Filip Hronek. Let's say it right now: the best right shot defenseman in Canucks history. Come on, man!
Thank you, Horvat.
And that's a hell of a trade right there. Like, if the Canucks, you look at some of the best trades in Canucks history, and obviously it's like Naslund for Stoyanov. I mean, the JT Miller one's starting to look better and better too. But I mean, man, oh man, for the Canucks to potentially haul that in for Bo Horvat would be a massive, massive win for this team.
100%. And look at this comment from Jimmy Honeywell. Bro, are you a corn star, man? Come on, Jimmy Honeywell? Dude, that's a crazy last name, man. Honeywell? Damn. Anyways, he's saying that Raty was showing promise, but he isn't there yet. Last time I checked, it's the preseason, all right? It's the preseason. We're getting excited, okay? So far over the last couple of weeks, we had Elias Pettersson being the next Nikita Zadorov ASAP. We had Jonathan Lekermacki being the next David Pasternak, and now we're having Aatu Raty be the next JT Miller. But with all those assumptions being said, there's something more concrete about Aatu Raty, and it goes back to what Trevor said 4 or 5 minutes ago. He's been the most consistent player for the Canucks this preseason.
Yeah, and he came in with a great camp, and he got the opportunity from day one, and he ran with it, right? And we've seen in this market guys run with it and guys not run with it at training camp, and for him to get a spot beside Connor Garland and Nils Höglander on a potential third line from day one of camp was a big opportunity for him. And again, he's just been so consistent. I mean, we're starting to see some of the hockey IQ shine through with the faceoffs going righty lefty there. Come on, he knows that this Canucks team needs right-handed centerman. Come on, man.
Okay, so I heard Batch talking about that yesterday, and I heard other people talk about it throughout the last couple of days, and you kind of see it in game 2, right? And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, is this a rare trait? Like, why is everyone gassing this guy up because he can do this thing? Like, okay, you can do this thing, but you went 40% on the draw on Saturday. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You played a pretty good Flames lineup, but you still went 40%. You want to execute, okay? You want to be, what's the word called? What's the word when you can use both hands? What's the word?
Ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous. No, one of those words, okay? Straight up. You can do it, but you want to get over 50%, okay? Straight up. You look at some of the comments right now in our live chat and like, oh, he hasn't arrived yet, blah, blah, blah. I kind of see where you're getting at, because it's not like he's absolutely lighting the preseason on fire. I'm not going to give him a complete pass for, being great on the faceoff circle if you're going 40% one night. We're talking about you stepping into an NHL lineup. We need you being that guy ASAP. That being said, Trevor, he's played on the wing before. And there's not any concrete lines set in order for your Vancouver Canucks. I still think there's a lot of work to be done this week when it comes to setting up your lineup for game 1 in the regular season. I wonder if there's a chance that Aatu Raty sticks around this season with the big club, being a player similar to Pius Suter as far as being positionally unique. He can play a lot of different positions. Do you see that with Aatu Raty? Like, I know overall you want him to be the next JT Miller, the next Bo Horvat, or again, just a better bottom 6 center than Suter and Bluger moving forward down the road. That would be such a beautiful thing. But this season, could you see this guy on the wing with Pettersson and DeBrusk?
You know what? You mentioned Pius Suter, and I think the Canucks, the role they want Pius Suter playing is the Pius Suter role in terms of being the guy on the wing. With Aatu Raty, I think this organization is very steadfast on keeping him at center. And if it comes down to it, I think they'd rather move Pius Suter to the wing. I mean, look at the faceoff numbers too from the preseason as well. He went 3 for 12 on the draw on Tuesday. He wasn't great in the faceoff circle over the weekend. So, I mean, you look at Aatu Raty and his faceoff dominance and Suter, losing most of his draws. I think just based on that alone, he's going to get the shot at center. But you know what? I mean, we're throwing the JT Miller reference around here, and I think we've seen Raty have most of his success in the AHL last season on the wing. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I do think that they want to give him every opportunity at center before considering a move like that.
Look at this comment from So How You Doing? What a name, bro. Manny Malhotra should help Aatu Raty with his faceoffs in the AHL. Again, if he starts there, who knows? There's a lot of room for this guy to grow. A lot of opportunities for a guy that, again, is slowly turning into a Rick Tocchet favorite. Trevor brought up the the two-handed ability.
Ambidextrous. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Hey, dude. Come on, bro. You know the deal. I only started reading at the age of 24, okay? 25. I don't even know what the age was, okay? I'm slow with my words. Rick Tocchet loves his ability to do so. Rick Tocchet loves puzzle pieces, okay? And if you're a guy that can play with 2 different hands or like 2 different sticks or whatever Aatu Raty was doing, this like unique situation, that means you're like a multifaceted puzzle piece. And Rick Tocchet probably loves one of those things. At the end of the day, though, just really, really, really happy that there's a player here. Straight up, there's a player here. When we get Aatu Raty in that Bo Horvat trade, he's a 2nd-round pick. Yeah, he's highly touted from a couple years before, and he was supposed to be a number 1 pick. But at the end of the day, he was a 2nd-round pick. And I don't know. I feel as if in this organization, he's found himself within his internal team. He has found himself, and there is a chance, Canucks fans. Straight up, Canucks fans. You think I'm lying about this? This is not me being crazy or irrational. There is a chance for Aatu Raty living up to what he was supposed to be a couple years ago. And that is a top 5 pick. Straight up. And if that hits, again, this trade involving Bo Horvat was the greatest trade in Vancouver Canucks history because it was one of the hardest trades to make. You just picked JT Miller over this guy. Horvat was your captain. Horvat was having a career year. You know what I'm saying? And you still shipped him off. Big move. And if we get Hronek and Aatu Raty for him, bro, this is the greatest trade in Canucks history if Raty pans out.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, like looking back on it, it feels like it was just Hronek for Horvat was the deal, but obviously you trade for the 14th overall pick and then you get Hronek. But again, just some masterful work by Alvin and Rutherford to reshape the organizational depth. They've done a couple other good things to improve this team. We all know it, but specifically I want to talk about Sedins on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. We'll be back after we shout out our friends over at Game Time. You know the deal, baby. If you're making money, you got to buy some tickets to concerts, comedy, hockey, all that good stuff. And man, oh man, Game Time is the place to do it. Myself, Kyle, I'm not getting those media opportunities as much right now. I don't know what's going on, so I'm looking at Game Time for tickets. And I think the best deal you can find on Game Time right now, lower bowl tickets for the Flames and Canucks on opening night for just under $150 per ticket, compared to, $150 in Vancouver. That's like 5 rolls of sushi, man. Come on. Go get those deals on Game Time. They got that new feature now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. That deal I found was from Game Time Picks, baby. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So make sure you take the guesswork out of buying these tickets with Game Time. Go download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account or redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. And you are spending this Monday with us, and we truly do appreciate that. One love, man. One love to Canada. One love to the First Nations. Every child matters. Trevor, we're blessed, man. We're blessed.
Yeah, we really are, man.
We shouldn't be here, yet we're here. Straight up. And you know why? You know why we're doing this, Trevor? Straight up, we always talk about, the bigger purpose. And there's that one dark alley that we walked through in the middle of the forest, and we talked about how we're doing this, and like we also want to ask ourselves, like, what is the point of all this? What is the point of life? The point of life is to be an extremely good neighbor, straight up, and treat others really, really kindly. Let's bring peace to the world, man. Peace and love, and I have high hopes, straight up. High hopes. Say, speaking of which, man, Canucks Clay, man. Or Canuck Clay. Sometimes I get it wrong, okay? Future GM at one point of the Vancouver Canucks. I really thought this guy was in line after Jim Benning to get the job, straight up, because I was just desperate. And I was hopeful. Canuck Clay, smart guy.
He could do it. He could do it.
Yeah. He could do it. Look at this comment from Canuck Clay, okay? It took Rutherford and Alvin a couple of years to reshape the roster, of how they wanted it. In the grand scheme of things, it was pretty quick. Of course, we had nowhere else to go but up. Rutherford and Alvin and Tocchet, I throw Tocchet in there a lot because he needs the credit. Like when you have culture builders like that who can do it at a 99 overall rate, like they're some of the best in their class at doing so, things can happen just like that. So I know this may surprise people, but thank you, Francesco Aquilini.
Hey, sometimes you got to give credit where credit is due, man, at the end of the day. So look, the vibes are good in the city, and you talk about that quick turnaround. The number one reason for that quick turnaround is the trade we've been talking about all episode long here on Locked On Canucks. The Bo Horvat trade, getting Filip Hronek in return, choosing JT Miller over Bo Horvat in the first place. Those moves, all in conjunction. It's the number one reason why the Canucks are where they are. And, obviously a big chunk of it is just better overall GMing in terms of adding the right players to this roster and not overpaying for deadbeats. I like what was going on in the Jim Benning era. But yeah, this trade has got the job done. But Kyle, you know what else has gotten the job done in Vancouver? And I want to give a shout out to Henrik and Daniel Sedin, okay? Because we talked about Aatu Raty and his success here. And one thing Aatu Raty mentioned was how valuable the Sedins have been to him in terms of helping him shape his game. They actually helped on the skating side as well, not known as, the fastest skaters, but certainly guys that were strong on their skates. And I think, Raty, he's bigger than the Sedins. He's got a chance to bring an even bigger impact in terms of his puck possession. So, man, oh man, the Sedins right now, I know they've moved into more of that player development role, and you see Lekaramäki, he's looked good in the preseason, had some time in Abbotsford last season, Elias Pettersson as well. And then, like Aatu Raty, Archie Baines, the Sedins, man. Sweden's always been good to Vancouver. They've been good to us with a couple of our latest draft picks. And now the Sedins juicing up this prospect pool with their prowess and their knowledge of the game. Man, oh man. I love Sweden, man. I'm getting a tattoo of Sweden on my body someday, straight up.
No, I want to get married in Sweden to my Punjabi girlfriend, man. I don't think that's possible, though. Straight up. Could Sweden even fit 100,000 people attending a wedding? Because I'm pretty sure I have to invite that many people to my wedding. Anyways, Trevor, bro, I didn't know where you were gonna take this conversation around Sweden, straight up in the Vancouver Canucks when you called me this morning. But I'm so happy that you just brought up Henrik and Daniel Sedin and their work within the organization post retirement, because I feel as if I slowly got rid of them in my list of thank yous because of the work they did to get Oliver Ekman-Larsson to Vancouver, straight up, because I feel as if it was Jim Benning and then those two flying him down to Vancouver on a private jet I'm pretty sure Henrik and Daniel bought him a private jet. That's what I heard. Okay, straight
Yeah,
up.
this is why they've been banished to player development.
Yeah, straight up. Like, no roster acquisition, but player development. You talk about two guys who developed in their 20s and did it the right way over the last 20 years, 25 years. It's hard to find two players who did it better than Henrik and Daniel Sedin, because they took their game to the level in which they were picked in the draft later in their careers. Like maybe back in the day, that was just a thing, right? Like more and more players at 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 start to reach their potential, right? But at the time, there was a point as a Canucks fan where it was Bertuzzi, Naslund, and Morrison, and then it was Naslund and Morrison, and then there was Naslund. I'm not really thinking of Henrik and Daniel actually ever reaching their potential. You're just looking at those guys as second liners. Now, to expand on that note, there's probably not two guys who could do what they've done with Aatu Raty specifically than those guys. Straight up. And I completely forgot that they were such a big part of Abbotsford last year. And if we had Henrik and Daniel give Aatu Raty the juice, then it just leads me to believe that there's more than like a 51% chance that Raty is going to reach his potential. Crazy.
Yeah.
Because those guys did it the right way. They did it as professionals, you know? They went to work. Like work, amongst the best conditioned players in the league. Didn't look like it from the outside, but internally and in the room, they were those guys. And Ratu, you talk about the leaps and bounds that he's made. Dude, if he's giving a lot of credit to Henrik and Daniel, then man, oh man, he ain't lying.
Yeah, and you look at Aatu Raty, and I would say he was the single biggest benefactor of the Sedins last season. And, you know, I shout out to guys like Archie Baines and Linus Karlsson even as well. You know, another Swedish prospect in there. Who got better as the season went on, and even earned the coach or the trust of Rick Tocchet in the playoffs to get a playoff game, right? But Aatu Raty, again, even though he moved to the wing, statistically got better as the season went on, looked more dangerous in the games where he was down there. And again, I know we want him developing as a center. Kyle, you mentioned the possibility of him playing on the top six on the wing. I think in terms of the development side and what the Sedins are doing, it's like, look, you're just trying to develop these guys into the best professionals possible. Like, sure, you wanted to play center primarily, like that makes sense, but you also just want him to develop as a player. You got guys in Henrik and Daniel, no experience at wing, experience at center. I think, again, there's nothing wrong with Aatu Raty playing a bit of both, right? Again, being maybe a bit like JT Miller, playing a bit of wing and playing a bit of center. But yeah, again, the Sedins did some great work last season. And again, Aatu Raty, the single biggest benefactor of it. Let's go.
Well, and you know, I wonder what Henrik and Daniel can do for a dude named Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, because he's going to Abbotsford. The dream is done, bro. He's going to Abbotsford. It's just the truth. And I'm kind of excited for it. You know, am I wrong based on the, is presumption the right word that I made a couple weeks ago? Maybe. I don't give a F. It's the preseason, baby. We're all wrong. But man, oh man, Henrik and Daniel Sedin with Lecker-Mackey, I'm pretty sure they speak the same language, could do work. Absolute work down in the AHL. And you know, going on to this note, one left to Jimmy Honeywell. He just sent us $2. Trevor Beggs, you can have it. Give it to your young one, okay? Give it to your young one today, okay? He's saying if Höglander gets put on power play 1, he is scoring 50, okay? I know Jimmy Honeywell, okay? He's just being a funny guy right now. He's being very hopeful, but being funny and being very generous. That being said, I wonder if Henrik and Daniel have done any work this training camps, this preseason, this September with not only Niels Höglander, but Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, not what we've seen at scrimmage or training camp, as far as I know. But it wouldn't really out of the realm of possibility, right? I mean, that's what kind of Rick talked about last season, that the Sedins were going to have some involvement in the power play. And yeah, I mean, in general, though, like Höglander spent almost a year down in the AHL with the Sedins down there too. So, and look at where Höglander's out right now. So I'm telling you, man, the Sedins in the right spot with this organization. You know, you got the right butts in the right seats with these Vancouver Canucks. Maybe one more Swedish note to get to in a couple of your comments. On the other side, you're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. We'll be back on the other side after shouting at our friends over at FanDuel. All right, NHL, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All right, and right now you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Man, oh man, I know the Canucks are playing a preseason game tonight, but my attention is going to be on the Seahawks and the Lions. The Seahawks, 4.5-point dogs. They're plus 176 on FanDuel to win it all. Do I believe in my team? Not particularly, but I'm a homer, man. So I'd be putting some money down the Seahawks as the underdogs. And maybe I have already. If you want to hop on the bandwagon with me or make your own bets, make sure you go do so on FanDuel.com.
Man, oh man, F the Seahawks, man. Okay, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs. Man, oh man, believing in everything Aatu Raty, believing in everything Henrik and Daniel, and everything that they're doing with player development on the ice. Man, oh man, Beggsy making my mind do wonders. Okay, straight up, we saw Luongo win a Stanley Cup last year in management. I hope that Henrik and Daniel can do the same here in Vancouver ASAP. Very well deserving. And again, just very, very well developed players. Like they did it the right way. They did the impossible. Like going back in time, looking at what they accomplished in their NHL careers, ultimately becoming NHL Hall of Famers. The fact that they were able to get so much better at the age in which they chose to get so much better leads me to believe that they can do the same with Aatu Raty, who happens to only be 21 years old still. And you know, there was like a conversation that Aatu Raty had post game on Saturday. I think it was at the radio team at Sportsnet 650. And I don't know if this quote is from that spiel or was it from a spiel with Ian McIntyre on a piece, but there was this appreciation coming from him in which he was understanding his growth over the summer, and also an understanding within him that he knew that he was only 21 years old. There's no panic. You know what I'm saying? There's a new level of confidence with this guy, and I'm here to see it, man. I'm here to see it. You know, out of everyone that we've talked about, whether it be the DPD or Lecker Mackey, Tom Willander, something about the way this guy speaks to the media, the way that this guy speaks on his own behalf, and his trajectory and his journey in the NHL leads me to believe that, there's a player here, man. And again, Henrik and Daniel doing his thing, Rick Tocchet doing his thing with them. Aatu Raty is going to make us really look back at this Horvat trade being the best trade ever. Now, Trevor, do you have like a list? I'm putting you on the spot right now, but maybe off the dome, like who are some of the best Finnish players to play for the Vancouver Canucks?
Oh my God, Jarkko Ruutu is always one that comes to my mind. And Sami Salo, yeah.
Jussi Jokinen.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
That season, remember that?
Lamico.
Oh wow, that guy, fourth liner, cash and bang type of player.
Oh yeah, you got to go back in the time machine a bit. Yeah, come on, I'm missing some here. Jyrki Lumme, Petri Sturko. Like, hey, now I got Kevin Lankinen, Marcus Granlund, of course, man. The Sea of Granlunds. How could you forget about that? Those are some of the only ones, to be honest. So yeah, not a lot there.
We should go to Finland. We should go. What's the national food in Finland? That's a good question.
Saunas? Oh wait, no, that's not food. Steam. There you go.
Steam? What? Anyways, let's get to some comments, okay, before we get out of here, okay? Trevor has a bit more on a Sweden that he wants to get off his chest. So look at GV, okay? Sami Salo has got to be the best and the most memorable easily. You want to talk about a class act? Sami Salo was that guy. And, I've thought a lot about Sami Salo during this preseason, this training camp, because of the slap shot and the one-timer missing at the top of the point on the Canucks power play, or just from the Canucks decor in general. You know how they tried to replace it with Jason Garrison in the early 2010s or like the mid 2010s. We've never had that player again. And I wonder again if the Canucks can bring Sami Salo in to be a developmental coach, or just maybe get into the mind of Rick Tocchet and kind of force a way for Hronek to be a big part of power play unit number 2. Because that one-timer has the ability to one day be prominent for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I don't think you need Sami Salo for that. I think Philip Hronek just has it in him already. It's just in terms of the Canucks scheming to get him those opportunities. And I think Hronek too probably needs to work on his accuracy a little bit, because if you look last year, I think he might have fired more pucks towards the net than any other Canucks player on the roster. He's one of the team leaders in shots. I believe he's one of the team leaders in shot attempts as well. But he often missed the net. So, and once he got on net, often like didn't feel that dangerous, right? Sometimes they don't with the big slappers. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I think there's ways to potentially scheme up Hronek to do that. And I don't think you necessarily need Sammy Salo to do it. In terms of Sammy Salo, great impact for the Canucks organization. We talk about the Sedins right now. Everything they touch turned into gold, basically. And the last Swedish shout I want to make is Vilmer Ulriksson signing his entry-level deal with the Vancouver Canucks. Again, shout out to the Sedins on that one. No, they haven't probably had that much contact with them other than development camp. But again, it was a guy with a lot of intrigue. He still has a long ways to go, but kudos to him for earning that opportunity with your Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, 100%. And seeing a guy like this earn a contract during his early tenure with the Canucks, being a late draft pick for this organization like 12 months ago is a beautiful sign. And now he can go buy a PS5 for Christmas. It's like this is why this organization is so beautiful, man, right now. Like this management group gets it, man. You got to reward your players for doing what they got to do. And straight up, this guy deserves a new PS5 after he fought a 29-year-old in the preseason. Look at this comment from Goodbye, okay? People must be young fans here because you guys are forgetting about the Bertuzzi and Naslin trades, which were bigger than this Bo Horvat trade. You also mentioned the Morrison trade from New Jersey. Yeah, I understand it. I understand where you're coming from, but I think for whatever reason, and there are obvious reasons, I think as sports fans, we like to look at like the greatest trades in franchise history always being trades in which we fleece the other team. Like you trade a nobody for a somebody, and here's a trade, this Horvat trade, where Horvat isn't a nobody. He's a 30-goal scorer. He still was a 30-goal scorer last year. Still has room to grow. Still a complete player, doing his thing. We got rid of that guy, and because of that, maybe we don't look at this as a complete fleece, thus not making this be able to be put in that category of the greatest trade ever. But if you look again at the circumstances in which the Canucks chose to follow that led them to this trade, it's such a pivotal moment. And if you can get two cornerstone players out of that trade for one, looking back at this years from now, after we win a Stanley Cup, I swear to you, we're going to look at this moment being the biggest moment when it comes to player acquisition in Canucks history. Because you can talk about Morrison, you can talk about Bertuzzi and Naslin in the 90s, the New Jersey trade, the Islanders trade, the Pittsburgh trade. You can talk about getting Luongo for Bertuzzi in the early 2000s, blah, blah, blah. Those trades never led us to win a Stanley Cup. Straight up.
If you think about it, the Canucks last season went as far as the West Coast Express era Canucks ever went. And they made that impact last year without Aatu Raty in the lineup. So if Aatu Raty comes in and starts, blowing the doors off for performing above expectations, and you got Phil Hronek as, a quasi number 1D on your team, this, like you said, Kyle, I think this could go down as the biggest trade in Canucks history. But it is overreaction season, baby, in September. More overreactions to come in October. Man, oh man, today is the last day of September. Remember, every child matters. Yeah, it's the last day of September today. Yeah, so tomorrow is October 1st, which means NHL hockey is just days away, baby. There we go. So they say, is it October yet for baseball? But you know that you and me feel that for the NHL. What do you think, Kyle? Anything to say to the people before we get out of here?
No, one love. Every child matters. Take care of our neighbors. Just know, man, we blessed to be here, man. Like, we're just blessed. How all these things have to happen, and even some unfortunate things have to happen, quote unquote, which is a dark thing to say for us to kind of just be here. It's like, yo, we're so blessed, and because of how we got here, I just want people to know, like, moving forward, Canuck fan or not, you got to treat your neighbors well. You got to be kind to each other. Let's get to a point in life where it's utopic, peaceful. I believe in that. One day down the road, that's going to be the case. And just have to say that on days like this where we reminisce and we think. And I was really driving to work today thinking about like elementary school a lot, and like, how this is a new thing in Canada to take this day off and all this stuff. Like, you really got to reminisce a lot. And yeah, just super, super blessed to be here, man, because it wasn't ours,
Mm-hmm. Nope, straight up, man. Well said, exactly. And you gotta be grateful for every day, especially when, hey, you cheer for one of the best goddamn teams in the NHL. We appreciate all you for tuning into this episode of Locked On Canucks, from the everydayers to the first-time listeners. If you like what we're doing here, make sure you subscribe and like on YouTube. Follow, leave a 5-star review on the podcast side. And hey, if you're a business or you know someone who owns a business and they're looking to advertise, you can make me your biatch by advertising with us, and I'll say whatever you want me to say. But yeah, the Canuck hockey, they're playing tonight, but the real regular season around the corner. We got you covered on all that and more here on Locked On Canucks. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
One love to Jimmy Honeywell again, man, saying a nice thing. Yo, Trevor, he gave us $4 on this episode. You got to buy your little one a couple Hot Wheels, okay? Straight up.